Did you know that the richest person ever was a black man? His name was Mansa Musa. He was actually a king of Mali. And his wealth was so immense that it was hard to really determine how wealthy was he. Today, we're going to answer that question. Mansa means emperor, so Mansa Musa means Emperor Musa. Mansa Musa was born in 1280 into a family of rulers. His brother, Mansa Abu Bakr, ruled the empire until 1312, when he surrendered his throne to go on an expedition. According to 14th century Syrian historian Shabib al-Umari, Abu Bakr was obsessed with the Atlantic Ocean and what lay beyond it. He reportedly embarked on an expedition with a fleet of 2,000 ships. The ships included men, women, and slaves. They sailed off never to return. Many believe they reached South America. In any case, Mansa Musa inherited the kingdom his brother left behind. And under the rule of Mansa Musa, the prosperous empire grew to span a sizable portion of West Africa, from the Atlantic coast to the inland trading hub of Timbuktu and parts of the Sahara Desert. As the territory grew, while Musa was on the throne, so did the economic standing of its citizens. The kingdom stretched for about 2,000 miles from the Atlantic Ocean all the way to modern-day Niger, taking in parts of what is now Senegal, Mauritania, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, the Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, and the Ivory Coast. With such a large landmass came great resources, such as gold and salt. During the reign of Mansa Musa, the Empire of Mali accounted for almost half of the old world's gold, and all of it belonged to the king. While holding the title of the ruler of the wealthiest emperor in the western part of Africa, the main source of his kingdom's wealth was gold and salt. He had absolute power and control, as every piece of gold and salt produced in the kingdom automatically became his. In the words of Rudolph Butch Ware, an associate professor of history at the University of California, contemporary accounts of Musa's wealth are so breathtaking that it's almost impossible to get a sense of just how wealthy and powerful he truly was. According to calculations based on the value of the dollar, prominent financial analysts and historians have determined that Mansa Musa's net worth as of today would be upward of over $450 billion. The emperor's wealth was virtually impossible to calculate. His wealth was so enormous that it is believed that he accounted for over 40% of the world's total gold reserves. Could you imagine that? He basically had almost half of the wealth of the entire world. Mansa Musa's subjects even became rich, accompanied by thousands of richly dressed servants and supporters. Musa made generous donations to the poor and to charitable organizations, as well as the rulers of the land his entourage crossed. Mansa Musa was a devout Muslim, and not one to travel on a budget. He brought a caravan stretching as far as the eye could see. He made a legendary pilgrimage from Mali to Mecca.
So do you see more of a trend where people are leaving their jobs, those traditional 9 to 5 hours, and doing their own thing?
No, it's definitely bigger than...
He made a legendary pilgrimage from Mali to Mecca. On that journey, he traveled almost 3,000 miles. On this caravan, he took over 70,000 subjects, consisting of his entire royal courts and officials, soldiers, griots, entertainers, merchants, camel drivers, and 12,000 slaves, as well as a long train of goats and sheep for food. It was a city literally moving through the desert. A city whose inhabitants, all the way down to the slaves, were clad in elaborately stitched gold and the finest Persian silk. 100 camels were in tow. Each camel carried hundreds of pounds of pure gold. It was a sight to behold, and the sight got even more opulent once the caravan reached Egypt, where they could really show off their wealth. He gave both gold and extravagant gifts lavishly. In fact, he flooded so much wealth into cities like Cairo, Egypt, metals like gold actually decreased in value. A full decade came and went in the wake of his visits, and many markets still had not properly recovered. In the end, Musa gained back at least some of the gold he had given away, picking it up at a high interest from Cairo lenders. He, by himself, actually caused global inflation. The emperor also made generous donations to the poor and to charitable organizations, as well as the rulers of the lands his entourage crossed. But don't be confused. He knew how to spend money. The ability to spend money is not a major accomplishment in of itself. However, when you consider that Mansa Musa frequently traveled with a caravan of 60,000 subjects, you have to understand that displaying and spending wealth like this can be seen as an accomplishment unto itself. This map gives a depiction of the journey from Mali to Mecca. It was a journey, as stated, that traveled almost 3,000 miles. Imagine that, folks. 3,000 miles through all types of terrain, deserts, storms, mountains, seas, and these 70,000 plus people were able to do that. As a devoted Muslim, on each of his pilgrimages to Mecca, every Friday, whenever he and his men stopped to rest, Mansa Musa would build a mosque at that location. Among his many other impressive exploits, he was a fierce warrior. With an army numbering around 100,000 men, including an armored cavalry corps of 10,000 horses, and with a talented general, he was able to extend and maintain Mali's vast empire, doubling its territory and making it second in size only to that of the Mongol Empire at the time. Just to reiterate, Mali controlled lands up to the Gambia and Lower Senegal in the west. In the north, tribes were subdued along the whole length of the Western Sahara border region. In the east, control spread up to the Gal and the Niger River. And to the south, the Bur region and the forests of what became known as the Gold Coast came under Mali oversight. Under his rule, there is no question that the Mali Empire rose to dazzling heights. It grew to include a number of additional regions. In fact, one visitor noted that it took him a full 4 months to travel from one end of the empire to the other. Mansa Musa was indeed a champion of Islamic religion and learning. He made Timbuktu a center for commerce and education. He also established the University of Sankore and Timbuktu University, among many others. Under his rulership, Timbuktu was indeed a world power and a leader in economic resources, education, and trade. A number of famous structures went up during his lifetime, including the Denjiga Mosque, which could be seen in this slide. Mansa Musa set up a number of educational centers and mosques, which cannot be emphasized enough. Architects came from both Spain and Cairo in order to build not only his staggering palace, but other buildings as well. Although the palaces does not exist in this present, it is worth noting that the university and mosque both continue to stand to this day. Some 800 years later, and his 25-year reign left behind a lasting legacy of wealth, kindness, generosity, innovation, education, respect, authority, and responsible rulership. Thank you for...
Yeah. I'd like to welcome everybody to my podcast. I am your gracious host, Jupiter 9, and that was a video from the Black Excellence and Abundance channel. If you want to learn more about your culture and history, go to that channel. It's a very, very good channel to get a beginning start on your true history, and learn who you are. Get to knowledge yourself and understand who you are as a people. So that's a great channel to go check out. It's called the Black Excellence and Abundance channel, man, on YouTube, man. But yo, that was a clip from the richest man who ever lived, Mansa Musa. He was king of the Mali Empire, and he was worth more than anybody on this planet, man. You know what I'm saying? Worth more than Jay-Z, worth more than Diddy, worth more than Warren Buffett, Bill Gates. All those people combined still didn't even scrape the surface on how much gold he was worth. You know what I'm saying? Not paper, flat debt notes, currency that's not worth anything but more debt. He was worth over 400 billion, and that's not even really the true number. You know what I mean? They really don't know how much he was worth. It possibly could have been, in this day and age, trillions if you based it off dollar bills. You know what I'm saying? But not only was he a wealthy man, but his people became wealthy as well. You know what I'm saying? That's actually the opposite of what America does. You know what I mean? America, they're, what I've seen throughout my lifetime, their objective and goal is to make you poorer. You know what I'm saying? Accumulate more debt. You know what I mean? Because we live in a debt-based system. You know what I'm saying? It's not a system to where people can actually get ahead and prosper. It's based off how much debt you have, and systems like that always crumble and fall. You know what I'm saying? But Mansa Musa, man, I'm gonna read a little bit of article on Mansa Musa, and this article is from www.blackpost.org, and I'm just gonna read a little bit more about Mansa Musa, man, so you can get an understanding of how great this man was at his time when he ran the Mali Empire. You know what I mean? So Mansa Musa, 14th century emperor of the Mali Empire, is a medieval African ruler most known to the world outside of Africa. His elaborate pilgrimage to the Muslim holy city of Mecca in 1324 introduced him to rulers in the Middle East and in Europe. His leadership of Mali, a state which stretched across 2,000 miles from the Atlantic Ocean to Lake Chad, and which included all parts of the modern nations of Mauritania, Senegal, Gambia, Ghana, Burkina Faso, Mali, Nigeria, Chad. In short, decades of peace and prosperity in West Africa. So as you heard in that clip, in that video, you know what I mean? His people were eating too. You know what I'm saying? He made sure his people eat too. It wasn't no, I'm the king and, you guys work for me until you no longer can work. He made sure everybody eat. You know what I'm saying? He brought his country out of, depression. You know what I'm saying? He did great things in his country, man. His country prospered at the time. There was nobody that was poor. Everybody was eating. Everybody's getting money. You know what I'm saying? And that is something that should be looked into going forward in America on, probably doing something like that here. Hopefully one day, man. You know what I mean? But we're going to continue on with this article, man. In 1312, Musa became emperor following the death of his predecessor, Abu Bakr II. When he was crowned, he was given the name Mansa, meaning king. Mansa Musa was knowledgeable in Arabic and was described as a Muslim traditionalist. He became the first Muslim ruler in West Africa to make the nearly 4,000-mile journey to Mecca. Preparing for the expedition took years and involved the work of archdiaconds in numerous towns and cities across Mali. In 1324, Musa began his pilgrimage with an entourage of thousands of escorts. He also brought considerable amounts of gold, and some of which was described along the journey. Accompanied by thousands of richly dressed servants and supporters, Musa made generous donations to the poor and to charitable organizations, as well as the ruler of the land his entourage crossed. On his stop in Cairo, Egypt, the emperor gave out so much gold that he generated a brief decline in its value. Cairo's gold market recovered over a decade later. Upon his return from Mecca, Mansa Musa brought Arabic scholars, government bureaucrats, and architects. Amongst those who returned with him was the architect Ishaq Tijarin, I don't know, you know what I mean, who introduced advanced building techniques to Mali. He designed numerous buildings for the emperor, including a new place named Mandagurus and Mosque at Geo, the second largest city in Mali, and the still standing Great Mosque of Timbuktu, the largest city in the empire. That mosque was named the Dangerous, I'm killing these names, El Turjan's most famous design was the emperor's chamber at the Malian capital of Niger. Mansa Musa pilgrimage boosts Islamic education in Mali by adding mosques, libraries, and universities. The awareness of Musa by other Islamic leaders brought increased commerce and scholars, poets, and artisans, making Timbuktu one of the leading cities in the Islamic world during the time when the most advanced nations from Spain to central India were Muslim. Timbuktu was clearly the center of Islamic sub-Saharan Africa. Musa pilgrimage to Mecca brought Mali to the attention of Europe. For the next 2 centuries, Italian, German, and Spanish cartographers produced maps of the world which showed Mali and which often referred Mansa Musa. The first of this map appeared in Italy in 1339 with Mansa Musa's name and likeness. Mansa Musa died in 1337 after a 25-year reign. He was succeeded by his son, Malian I. And that is the story of the great Mansa Musa. If you didn't know who was the richest man who ever lived, like I said, it wasn't Bill Gates, it wasn't Jay-Z, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't Warren Buffett, it wasn't P. Diddy, it wasn't Beyonce, it wasn't Rihanna, you know what I'm saying? It was Mansa Musa, worth over 400 billion in gold, not flat money, you know what I'm saying, debt, but actual assets, you know what I'm saying? And I stress this all the time in my podcast about how you should accumulate assets. You know what I'm saying? You guys should be accumulating gold and silver and these things, these precious metals, because they've been around since the beginning of time. You can take gold and silver and take it anywhere in the world, and people will recognize it as a commodity, an asset, you know what I'm saying? And you'll be able to trade with anybody in the world, taking these true commodities, true money, true wealth anywhere in the world. You know what I'm saying? People know that it's money. You know what I'm saying? Venezuela, had the collapse. You know, Venezuelans actually are in disarray to where they're, you know, digging for gold in order to buy food and get their everyday necessities with gold, because their money system collapsed there last year. So protect yourself, buy you some gold and silver. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just going to say that before, you know, I get off and, you know, do my thing, but I'm not a financial advisor. You know what I'm saying? If you're looking for a financial advisor, seek yourself one. I'm just one to share information. But if you don't know, now you know. Hopefully this will give you some curiosity and make you go continue to research your true history. You know what I'm saying? Again, that YouTube channel is called Black Excellence and Abundance Go check them out. They got a lot of great content for you to get a beginning start on learning true history about yourself. But that is my take in this podcast episode. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. Please share this with everybody. You know what I'm saying? Help my podcast grow, continue to grow. I am your gracious host, Jupiter 9, and I just want to say peace and love to everybody. Take care. 1.